Hello, I am Toasties, and welcome to another video of mine. So in today's video, I will be teaching you how I digitally color skin on Medibang Paint Pro. And that is all. Hey, before anything, I wanted to mention that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. Skillshare offers thousands of classes for every interest and every passion, like digital art, illustration, drawing concept art, graphic design, and much more. One class that I was checking out was the Imaginative Drawing, Developing Concept Art Characters by Camila Derrico. One thing I struggle with is imaginative thinking when drawing characters, and instead of going straight for the final product, I learned that I should sketch out multiple ideas and take my environment into consideration before designing. What's great about Skillshare is that there are no ads in any of the videos provided. There are always quality classes being launched to cater to the inspiring learning experience. Classes aren't even long and dreading like real classes, you know? They're short and straightforward to best fit your schedule. So, consider joining Skillshare and get taught from thousands of great artists. So, the first 1,000 people to use the link will get 1 month free trial of Skillshare. With all that said, let's go back to the video. This first part's pretty self-explanatory. I kind of just, it's the flat base colors, so you kind of just do this however you want. I normally use the pen tool because it's the most opaque one, and I use pen for more basic, more open spaces, and I use the fill tool for more complex shapes, and then I fill in whatever with the pen tool afterwards. It seems a little backwards, but that's just kind of what I do when I fill in shapes with one singular color. When choosing a shading color for the skin, you don't want to go down the grayscale because the skin will end up looking like murky and dirty. So to bring more color into it, I drag down from the original hue that it came from and drag it down to like to the orange and red, and darken that to the I drag it down to the right diagonally instead of straight down, so then it's more vibrant and not murky looking like I said earlier. And shading wise, you kind of just put this wherever your source of light is, so it really just depends on how you want the drawing to be. So mine is just default top right corner type source of light. Alright, now we're on shading, but the blending portion. So for the brush I use to blend, because Medibang Paint Pro doesn't have a blend tool, and the blur tool I really don't like it. I use the watercolor wet brush. I think this brush is really good at softening edges, and that's exactly what I do afterwards after using the pen tool. So as you can see here, I'm using the watercolor wet with the dark color first to soften the edge, and then to kind of blend it out a little with the lighter shade. I use the lighter shade that was right next to it and kind of play around with the in-between colors to try and blend it in even more. There are some parts in shading where you can't have all of it completely smoothed out, because then there wouldn't be any like sharpness in the drawing. So you want to make sure that not everything is completely blended in. But for some specific parts where there's like light on it harshly, then that's where like the harsh shade would be. For the eyes, in this section you can see me doing like a flicking motion. For parts like in like the eyebrow to the eye area, I like to feather out the dark color to the light first and then feather the light color to the dark afterwards to kind of soften up that shade that I made at first, because it looks like a bean, and then I kind of like take out the bean shape and feather out the edges, which makes it which softens the edges and as well blend it out like really well. And pretty self-explanatory for all the other parts. As I've said earlier, I just use a dark color to smooth out or to soften the edge first, and then the light color to blend it in more. And I kind of just like, it's pretty much like a rinse and repeat type section of when I color, because it's just, you know, you're just doing the same thing until you're satisfied with how it looks. And yeah. Okay, so for highlight, I use the watercolor wet brush again. I use this brush all the time. I absolutely love it. So for the watercolor wet, you normally want to make sure it's like a yellow close to white color for the highlight, unless, you know, the highlight, unless your source of light is like a completely different color, then obviously you would change it. But in this case for default, it would be like lightest yellow to the white. And you kind of just put that wherever on the other side of the face where the light hits. Alright, so for blush, I normally just use an airbrush and just put like a either peachy red or like orangey type red, and kind of just like lightly color over the cheeks and sometimes over the nose so the skin can have more color. And then sometimes I'll lightly go over like the fingertips on the hands or like the knuckle area as well. For the lips, I used the watercolor wet brush again, and I completely like color over the top lip, and then for the bottom I used a feathering motion of like not putting so much weight on the pen and lightly flicking it out and taking the skin color and flicking it inwards towards the color to give it like a soft, kind of like glossy look as well. And then I just use like a dark color sometimes if I want a little bit more depth, but I don't really do that too often, like at all. And that's just the lip. It's pretty basic. And then I just add like a highlight at the top to kind of make the lips pop a little bit more. And then the highlight on the bottom lip using the pencil tool or brush. And that's the lip. I'd say the way I do lips is pretty easy and basic. Okay, so for the white of the eyes, I don't use a complete white color. I kind of make it either more so on either the blue-purple side or on the like skin tone side. But just as long as it's not fully white, and I color it in with a pen tool. Afterwards, I use the pen tool to kind of like put where I want the shading to be. Sometimes the shading can change from light purple, light blue, and like a brown gray. And again, with the watercolor wet tool, I blend that in with the lightest part of the eyes. So yeah. Now this isn't mandatory, but this is my style, so do what you want. I use a watercolor wet tool with a red color and put it at the bottom to put like, you know, that like the water line? I kind of forget what that's called, but that red part of your eyes where sometimes you put color in. But I just put that, and that's just like style, so you really don't have to do that or pay attention to that part. Anyway, we're going to be doing the what's it called? The irises? The pupils? The eyes. And just to be basic and simple, we're gonna do brown eyes. So I use the pen tool again to put the flat color on the eyes. I also put the shade of the eyes with a much darker brown with the pen tool as well. And to blur it, we're going to be going back with the watercolor wet brush to soften up the edges. Now with black, we're going to put the pupils with the watercolor brush still, or watercolor wet brush still, and or the iris. I kind of forgot, but you know that the black part, pupil. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I just didn't do research. Anyway, I used the same black and I put it over, touching it with the eyelid area to kind of make sure that the eyes blend in with the eyelid, like the eyeliner area, because I personally don't really like it when it's super poppy unless you intend for it to do so. And the highlight, you can do whatever you want, but I use a full white with a pencil brush, and I just do little circles. Sometimes I'll do hearts to make it cute, but to be simple, we're just gonna do that. And lastly, with an airbrush tool, you kind of just like take a orangey color if you're doing brown, and you just lightly color it in with a smaller brush to make like the highlight more highlight. And that's it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, leave a like, comment down if you'd like to see how I color hair digitally tutorial using this same drawing. And yeah. Subscribe if you want to see more content, more art content, whether that be speed paints or tutorials. Like this video, comment what else you'd like to see, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. Right, I will be going now. Bye!